First of all, a very good morning to all the teachers and my dear friends. As we all know that today we are gathered here in this virtual meeting to celebrate the Teachers' Day. Every year, 5th of September, we celebrate the birth anniversary of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan ji as Teachers' Day. It is my honor to be here at this moment, and on behalf of Team Quality Control and Future Planning, King George's Medical University, Lucknow, I, Pavitra Rastogi, welcome you all on this wonderful occasion with a big round of applause. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vidya Rupe Sanstuta Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaः। मां सरस्वती के सच्चे आराधक डॉक्टर सर्वपल्ली राधाकृष्णन जी के 132वें जन्म दिवस पर हम मां सरस्वती से आशीर्वाद की कामना एवं उनका नमन, वंदन एवं अभिनंदन करते हुए कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करते हैं। और सर्वप्रथम मैं आमंत्रित करता हूं प्रोफेसर वीएस नारायण, हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट कार्डियोलॉजी, फॉर द वेलकम एड्रेस। प्रोफेसर वीएस नारायण सर।
Thank you, Pavitra. Am I audible?
Yeah, sure, sir.
The Honorable Vice Chancellor, General Bipin Puri, Padam Shri Professor Mahendra Bhandari, Deans, dignitaries, very respected senior teachers, fellow faculty members, students, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all and a very happy Teachers' Day, September 5, 2020. It is my special privilege to welcome you all on this occasion when we are meeting each other on a virtual platform to celebrate Teachers' Day. I, on behalf of the entire faculty, staff and students, warm-heartedly welcome our chief guest, General Bipin Puri, who has recently taken up the reins of the university as Vice Chancellor. From what we have known of him in the couple of weeks past, he is a man with an excellent track record of performance with discipline and courage, acting on honest, straightforward principles. I am sure this faculty, this Paltan, will stand behind him to work on the cause assigned to us all. And hopefully in better times, sir, we will have a bada khana in your welcome. I'm also happy to add that the Vice Chancellor has allowed a gentle breeze of humor and philosophy to blow across the campus, making it pleasant and fragrant. I welcome you, sir. I'm also very happy to welcome amongst us once again our former Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Mahendra Bhandari, an awardee of Padam Shri, and whose leadership qualities, whose futuristic visions we have been exposed to when he led the university in his early years in 2005. We have had opportunities to listen to Dr. Bhandari in the past in person, and this will be the first time we shall be interacting with him on this platform. We are all very eager to listen to him. He has proved that teachers never tire or retire. After having spent time in Lucknow at Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute as director, and then as the Vice Chancellor of King George's Medical University, he moved on to practice robotic surgery in Detroit, USA. And besides his expertise, he has been concentrating on motivation, on philosophy, and general ways of living. And this is what he sort of professes with a lot of passion. And Dr. Dalela, I'm sure, is going to expand more on what Dr. Bhandari is all about. My deepest and respectful regards to all the illustrious teachers who have superannuated from the campus. They have made teachers of their students, and these students now as young faculty carry the flag of KGMU flying high. I welcome and congratulate them all. To those teachers, who have passed on, I pay my humble respects and thank the Lord for having taken them in their fold in the heavens, from where they continue to bless us each day. I also welcome all the students of KGMU. Because of them we are, and it's because of them that we continue to learn, to upgrade ourselves, and to become better teachers. And I welcome all and sundry whose lives we touch each day, because of whom we learn lessons in life each and every moment. I welcome and thank them all. In the end, I must say we are indeed blessed to be part of this great educational movement at KGMU. And on this day dedicated to the spirit of learning and to celebrate sacred relationship between the learned and the learning, and the teacher and the God, I thank God for his graciousness, because he is the supreme and eternal Guru. With these words, I welcome you all once again and wish you a very, very happy Teachers' Day. Welcome to the day's proceeding. Namaskar.
Thank you, Naran sir. The light of the word, the beacon in the dark, and the hope that gives us strength to survive is our teacher. जिस तरह भगवान कृष्ण ने श्रीमद् भगवद गीता में कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन तथा सुख दुखे समाकृत्वा लाभा लाभो जया जयो का जो अनासक्त योग दर्शन दिया है, वही गुण एक सच्चे शिक्षक के हैं। अर्थात एक सच्चा शिक्षक एक योगी है, और योगी के लिए राष्ट्र तो क्या, संपूर्ण विश्व ही उसका कुटुंब है। In the same scenario, today we are blessed with the generosity of our former Honorable Vice Chancellor, Padam Shri Professor Mahendra Bhandari ji, who joined us from United States of America. I request Professor Divakar Dalela sir to please introduce our today's guest speaker, Professor Divakar Dalela sir.
Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Pavitra, for asking me to do this honor. What can be a better privilege than to pay tributes in regards to the teacher on the Teacher's Day? So, friends, I was thinking that about Professor Bhandari, what should I talk this morning as his introduction? Should I tell you about his coveted honors that he has in his kitty, like B.C. Rai Award in 1995, Padam Shri in 2003, or should I tell you about his administrative journey, which includes being founder head of urology at SGPGI in 1988, 2 path-breaking tenures of directorship at SGPGI, becoming our second vice chancellor in 2003, then the director of robotic surgery research programs at Vatikoti Urology Institute at Detroit in 2005, and finally the CEO of Vatikoti Foundation in 2010. Or should I tell you about his traits as medical teacher that are ingrained in his heart and soul? Friends, he really believes in stimulating everyone around him to be on top of the pyramid as a professional. He has tirelessly chiseled all his students to be knowledge creators and not only be knowledge seekers. He led his people by demonstrating a personal conduct of full sincerity and not by uttering fancy words. To me, personally, he has been an epitome of principle-centered leadership. He has always worked in the larger interest of students. He has talked about ideas, core human values, and life-guiding principles, and never about people. Whenever and wherever he noted a tiny seed of useful idea in anyone's mind, may it be a student or a young faculty member or head of the department, he watered that seed with his full energy and resources. It is on account of all these Bhandarian traits, we, all his students, make a beeline for him whenever we come to know that he's around. I put him in highest esteem as my mentor. I have the honor of being his student. My association with him runs for more than 3 decades. He's truly my Dronacharya. and I take this privilege of asking him to deliver his talk on leadership in higher education to all my colleagues. Thank you very much. And I hand over to Professor Bhandari for his talk.
Can you give the screen back to me, Divakar?
You can share your screen now. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you please share your
I
screen.
don't think okay, now I can. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Divakar. Thank you, Varun. At the outset, I take this opportunity to welcome General Puri on a hot seat. It was much hotter when we started it, but I'm sure we will enjoy it. I will pay tribute to two of my colleagues, which are so ingrained in UP and the leading people who I really was friendly for decades. One is the late Professor K.M. Singh. We had association for 50 years, 45 years to be precise. And similarly, Dr. D.K. Chabda, who was the epitome of establishing Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute. I certainly miss, and it's my humble, I dedicate this lecture to them. It's always privilege for me to talk to KGMU, and because it's a nostalgia, and it's really a pleasure to see old people, old associations, which are truly my pride possessions. The title of talk I have discussed today, because leadership, according to me, is misunderstood a lot. And everybody has its own definition of a leader. I am going to talk to you about a portable leadership. This is a term which has been recently propagated by Dean of the Harvard Business School, has written a review on portable leadership, and that's where they have really isolated by studying the CEOs of GE to find out what leadership trait a person carries from an organization and what leadership traits are specific to other organizations. So now, this is one of the commonest leadership we encounter, and that is political leadership, where you have a leader and followers. I don't mean that academic leadership is anywhere close to this definition of leadership. But unfortunately, these influences creep up in our day-to-day living. And that's what I would like, my initial few slides, I want to tell what kind of leadership I mean. The academic leadership, which is, I'm sorry, let me see once again, I'm showing the right kind of, 1 minute. Are you able to see my screen? No.
Yes, sir, we can see your screen.
Okay, you can see the screen?
So we could see your screen, but yes, it's back.
So academic leadership, what I'm talking of is a totally different leadership. And that's very relevant for an institution or premier institution like King George's Medical University. the expectations of academic leader is very high. For two functions these institutions of higher learning does is, one is we, because the medical institution has to meet with our clinical responsibility, which brings in whole lot of responsibilities to look after a patient and to present a public face of an institution. Contrary to that, we nurture the best of the talent in the world. And as you know, at the level of super specialty and specialty training, there is very little we can do in terms of didactic coaching. Most of it is they learn by seeing what, and that's why the teacher's behavior is very important when it comes to this, and that is a different kind of leadership. So what I am trying to tell you is a corporate kind of leadership where we don't lead followers. We don't need followers, we need leaders. We need to lead leaders, and that is what is important. That is to be understood, that it has to be a very different connotation from political leaders. So what I am talking of invisible leadership, and the best example, I'm sure I have talked to you at several occasions, and I must have given this example. When I was a director at SGPGI for a professional commitment, I visited IIT Kanpur. And first time I was to visit the director's office, and I used to collaborate with computer science departments. I was there, and you will not believe, I asked several faculty members and students there to direct me to the director's office. It took me 20 minutes because nobody knew where the director's office is. And that became my ideal, that an institution should have invisible leadership, where the needs of stakeholders are taken care of. If you have to look for director, I know that theoretically it may be possible, but practically it's not possible. What I mean to say, don't take it in literally sense of being invisible, but you have to make sure that you redress the needs of your community without your being there, without their running after you. It's a very tall order to achieve, but at least one should strive at that. We have a kind of, it takes no time for anybody to pick up whether you are talking to a boss or a leader, because his language would be, I did that and I did that and all. And moment it is replaced with we, which cannot be done. You can make a change in one sentence you say, but you cannot change the global change of your attitudes. Now, this is an important slide for you to understand what I mean by leadership. Leadership doesn't mean only when you become a head of an institution or head of a department. These are administrative connotations of leadership. I define that your leadership has been given an opportunity to prove, are you truly a leader? This is first test when you write that kind of crest. But each one of us have a leadership element in us. And this is, even if you don't like to be leader, you have to carry that mantle with you, because human beings are bundles of attributes and we need to play, role playing is very important. Now see, as a student, our perceptions are different, our needs are different, our expectations are different. Same thing changes when you are a teacher. And then as a student, we add something to the core of what you call bundle we have. All the fibers in bundle like fiber optic are not transparent. Some of them would be opaque, bad qualities also. And then you go higher up and you have institutional leader. And then you go still higher and you may be fortunate to have a national role or international global role. or societal role, but ultimately it is one individual. Now, the usual problem, I'll come cutting corners to it, is between teachers and team leader like head of the department. Or sometimes it could be a specialty person heading an institution. The trouble is that it is very difficult to change the roles. Person, moment he becomes heads, he continues to be competing with his people. And that is the worst thing which can happen. So, the role changing is very important because, and this is Herman Hesse has said a very good thing. Some of us think holding on makes us strong, but it is letting go. I met many of my colleagues and they continue to be head of departments. I would never leave X specialty, even if I become head of an institution. It doesn't go down my thing that by holding on, how one becomes much more wiser than somebody, but this could be a different perception altogether. Now, this is in corporate world, we have always bad bosses. I don't think, in fact, there are bad bosses, which is, it's only your perception. Because most of the time as human beings, if somebody doesn't agree with our viewpoint, which is not all the time sacrosanct, we keep changing. We have a right to change our viewpoint. We have explanations, but if somebody contradicts that, he becomes a bad person. So first thing is, you have to really introspect and see, is there truly a bad boss, or is it something which is your perception of a person? So again, my recipes, even if you have a truly a bad person to report with, don't let it happen to you, these things. Because no individual, to my mind, has a power to steal your brain power, your productivity, innovations, and motivational skill. And hence, why do you want your health to suffer? You have to figure out, take them as one of the most difficult exercises of your life so that you come stronger with it. And I can tell you that you would not regret having oh my God, this is something. I'm looking for my slide change. Yeah, sorry. So the conclusion, what I drew for my career is that I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to be. Each one of us have to make a choice. Impediments would be there in organization, outside the organization. And until there are impediments, your levels of skills to surpass those boulders would be stunted. Hence, we have to really make sure that everything is within. And to speak ideally, for a true leader, there is no other person exists. This is something which you would know that age-old, what you call crucibles. And the history of crucible is, there is a place by the name of Hesse in Germany, where they make these crucibles. And the crucibles are, as you know, alchemists used to use for holding material with high temperature. To make ordinary metal to a gold, crucible has to go. Mind you, everything goes in crucible, doesn't get into gold, it is destroyed. Similarly, in the career of a leader, these are the crucibles he has to cross. And every time he passes through a crucible, I'm giving my own life's examples. King George's Medical University, I remember the date very well. It was 13th March 2003, 12 hours after I was suddenly asked that I have been appointed as Vice Chancellor, and I was driving from Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute to take over the charge of the institute. And I knew for certain, because I coexisted with this institution, and I had interactions, and life in Sanjay Gandhi was totally different than King George's Medical University I expected. So I didn't expect the bed of roses here, but I never knew that I am entering the biggest, what you call, crucible of my life. But I think it turned out to be one of the best periods of my life, which brought in so much of transformation in me. And to tell you an incident, at the beginning, when I was driving to the institution, I was receiving phone calls in my car. And when I reached to the office, I had some known faces, some unknown faces, and all the office wearers were waiting to greet me with their resignation letters. I had to make a decision in 30 seconds, whether I take these people who I don't know. There was no reason for me to trust them or untrust them, because I had a CPMT to conduct, which unfortunately did not have a very good history in few weeks of that time. But in 30 seconds, something within me said, and it reminded me that if you really want trusted people, you need to trust in the people. And believe me, it was one of the outlier CPMTs. 9 days we declared the result. And it was only because of these people who toiled hard and fought with me with the external environment. Thereafter, I made a principle in my life that don't question anybody, trust. Even if somebody outsmarts you, don't stop trusting people. Because if you trust somebody, he may outsmart you once, but over a period of time, it would, he has to mend his way. I had much bigger crucibles in my life, but none bigger than King George's. Like at the age of 62, I entered a business school, one of the best business schools in the United States. That was a totally different. That crucible taught me how to work with smartest people than you. In a class of 52, there are about 32 people, CEOs of big companies. And that's how you have to take them. Every time you are in a very difficult situation, please withhold that temperature for some time, and you will see that you will come out stronger with some more qualities. So there are many other institutions I work, but the point I want to make is, whenever you don't think that it is the right time for you, or it is something has gone wrong, something you don't like, wait for a while. It will turn into gold in no period of time, and you will come much stronger. I at least believe that we have two people residing within us. There is an idiot within inside of each one of us, and there is a child within. And my request to you is, keep killing this idiot of yours and keep your child, irrespective of your what you call the chronological age, keep the child within. Because child is spontaneity, child is honesty, child is integrity, and that is what we should do. So portability of talent. So I think KGMU is a reservoir of talent. It has provided so many directors, illustrious medical people, 15,000 strong alumni in United States in really key positions. And mind you, they all carry the culture of Lucknow to help others. So you can really build human capital irrespective of what you call carry with you. You can carry your strategy, you can carry your networking and qualities with you wherever you go, it is applicable everywhere. And fortunately, our domain knowledge, it is not like that you are going from hardware industry to software industry. It is wherever you go, you will go to a medical institution. Now, it is all about your identity. Identity is something we decide a label, we become judge and jury, which is not right. What you are in these days, initially we used to talk in conferences 30 years ago that I am so and so, I have done so much of work. These days that culture has vanished. If somebody is seriously meeting you, he's giving name to a face, face to a name, so sort of thing. He has read everything about you. He knows everything about you. So we in our part of the world need to really nurture our identity by not judging ourselves or relatively judging ourselves against somebody you obviously see. Our professors and teachers need to benchmark themselves against the best in the country and the world, rather than keeping a low-hanging target of comparing yourself that and trying to count on somebody. This is a big conflict. You often hear that I made so-and-so department in KGMU. It's true, nobody disputes. And if you have done so truly, people will remember it, but certainly don't forget what institution has given to you. I can quote the examples of the institute. I went to Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore for the first time. That is a role model institution for me. And I was sitting in professor's chamber and I said that what did institute provide to you? Because in those days I was looking for what should I provide to my departments in terms of physical infrastructure. And they said Indian Institute provides nothing. Even the chair you are sitting is through my research grant. They provide only the address. And that is true for many institutions in the United States. So don't forget that institution gives you an address which lives you even after you live for that. Now, essentials of leadership, I will not take you into theory, but what I'm trying to say that leader, one word of leader, if the function is how can you empower people? How can you inspire people to do things which otherwise they would not be able to do? And it is not for you to tell them, I made you to do. These people will remember you all throughout your life. And so it's an indirect advantage. You should have a decisive, distinctive, and compelling voice. Sense of integrity is totally uncompromising. You may do things under the camera, but everything is known. In my 20 years in UP, I can tell you never ever think, and that's why I never believed in secrecy or minimizing the secrecy, because there was nothing. Your life should be open book whether people like it or not. But that is something which one has to train. Similarly, high ethical standards, because mind you, the responsibility you have, students, everybody would follow your ethical standards, and that is very important for you to consider and introspect. So you have to strengthen your limbic system, and I'm sure many of you know limbic system is spontaneous, genuine, signal stress, and the body language you can make out. You can't give a public face and private face. You have to, it is a clue to body language. Whatever you are shows on your face. Leaders cannot be, they can be quiet, but inside them there should be a sense of urgency. Life is not 100 years, and you can't really say that, oh, it's a simple thing, we'll do that. But certainly you don't show urgency, because your face cues would give direction to the whole community of people you lead. If you show your stress on that, they will judge the thing. Now comes, every leader has to have quality of decision making. And here again, I'll give one example which impressed me the most, how Abraham Lincoln used to make a decision. And I'll recommend for those who have not read, it's a very big book, but what they call the army of rivals. Abraham Lincoln was known to keep rivals with him. And his way of making a decision is there would be a decision-making process of his own analysis, wherein he'll take opinion from the people who will contradict him, who would be opposing him, to make his own firm decision, which would be a pretty long, protracted period of decision making. But moment he has made a decision once, heavens would fall, but he'll not give up his decision. So, yes, I can see the instinct for all of us to become a leader. I will qualify it by telling that it is not the leader, but how do you become a charismatic leader? Win the hearts of your followers, not by any other means, by genuinity. You have to look into their needs, and they would really be grateful to you for helping them. Make people feel special, you know, and that is very important, that you give undivided attention to the people. Listen to them, and it's all listening, game of listening. You don't have to do anything. I can tell you, we all deal with the patients and the stories. You just listen to them, and that 50%, 60% job is done. Choose right words, and that teaches you how you should be aware of selecting right language and be sincere to the problem. We understand these institutions are 100 years old. All problems you cannot solve, but if you are sincere to a problem, people will understand that you did your best. Listen to the body language, what you should talk, what you should not take. For experienced leader, it should not take more than 17 seconds. It's the studies to show, to understand what the other guy is, what's going on in his mind. Is he honest to what he's talking, or he's making up? All these body cues as leaders we need to learn and create a strong persona. There is very little, I don't think you can create it. You can nurture a strong persona over a period of time. Now, there are two kinds of leaders. You will find them. One of them just manage to survive. They don't want to do, because change means it comes with a whole lot of dowry and baggage. Moment you ask anybody to change a little, human nature doesn't accept it easily. So one kind of people, I call them, they just manage themselves. Another manage institutions. And one of the quotes of Dr. Mathai, the first director of Indian Institute of Management, it's very close to my heart, is either you can make an institution, or you can use an institution. Choice is yours. What would you like to do? So changing things is taking, but definitely the growth parameter is attached to changing. It's not that changing for the sake of changing. All organization needs a change, and you should not shirk from management change things, even if it is opposed or fought with. Adversity. This was a big challenge, that it was a privilege of Vice Chancellor to have security guards in back and forth. And one of my very senior person, I told him that I don't like, because in principle, it keeps me away from the people I want to be with them. But they said that no, there is a risk. So I said, let it be a professional hazard rather than keeping away. So adversity is something hand in glove. You cannot make 100% of people to agree with you. And you should not endeavor to do, because I don't think majoritarianism has helped anywhere. But what I would like to say, that if you take these positions, you should do. Another important thing is, rather than somebody putting your highlights into newspaper, because if you are not in the newspaper, at least in our time, they will call and say that, are you okay, or are you not in town, or something. But rather than getting surprised at your weaknesses they publish by researching against you, you should know your weaknesses, and no morning newspaper headline should really make you to do. Transparency. Easier said than done, but transparency is some human trait which appeals to the subordinates. So you have to really endeavor to do transparency. Now, this is a very, very nice quote of Andre Agassi. Everybody knows, all-time tennis champion. More you can remove emotion, the more, I would say, don't remove, but manage your emotions efficiently. You can be an inch away from winning, but still miles away. If you allow emotions to interfere with the last step, there are so many things that can distract you from taking care of the business.
Acha.
Now, I will tell you that whatever is the change management, whatever is the change management process you have, once it's only the question of beginning a change management, rest of it takes care of itself. Oh, this cursor is lost. Yeah. So don't bother about big changes. Change is such a process that you start and move the smallest domino and let it be an automatic process. You don't have to become anything. You don't have to tell, you don't need an administrative crutch to say that I am a leader, you listen to me. These administrative positions, if anybody has to use anywhere to say that I am head of the department, means this is your first, you have used the last ammunition. Act as a leader. Your behavior should be inbred with a leader and think like a leader. And this is, again, one of the very illustrious business school professor who has written a book on this. So we have to get out of do, we, and have a paradigm. We do work hard, we become something, and then have it, to go from that to be, start believing in what you want to be, do, and then have. Everything looks very, very rosy till you ride that chair, particularly these administrative positions. One has to really reach to the top to see what it looks like to be on the top. Always the inbreeding has bothered me. One has to really, there are reasons for you to stay in one place, but at least for youngsters, there should be, India needs a lot of migration of talent to other institutions, people taking leads, entrepreneurial things. And for that, you need to really have a vision to create a bridge for you, rather than losing total marketability for you in the place you are incumbent. Everywhere you know and go, Shoshin is a Zen term, which is known for childlike behavior. And this is very important, that, and that's why many of you would know that we always say that whenever you meet somebody, wipe out your old good or bad impression. You should always meet them as if you are meeting for the first time. And that is what is the meaning of Shoshin. This is one of my favorite things, that in order to really add value to it, whether you are in a private organization or a public institution like KGMU, you have to ask a question every morning to you, that what value you are bringing to the institution or whatever you are doing. If you are finding that you are becoming static, pivot it, do something, and pivot your career, like a basketball player changes its position, keeping one foot on the ground. And according to me, my message is pivot or stultify. Either you'll decimate or keep learning new things. Learning doesn't age. And let me tell you, chronological age is not a deterrent to your learning. In fact, you are physically more fit if you learn. One more thing, that always we are happy with the people who listen to us. But coming to United States, I have found that people like to have more knowledgeable people or smarter people around them. And there is a strategy. They may not like them, but they still like to have taller people. If you are in company of taller people, your career is made. You will never cease to learn. They'll argue with you. They'll expose you for what you don't know. And that is the kind of culture and stimulation you need. This is my favorite slide, that collaboration is the key to medical institutions, whether it is administrative collaboration or scientific research collaboration. Take this orange field, orange, and everybody focuses at the mesh of the orange, the substance. Nobody bothers about the peel. Same thing happens in research collaborations. Everybody fights for the substance of the orange because nobody wants to take this. And that's where the fight is. So as a democratic country we are, the best way is let us divide the orange into half and half. That is not the best solution according to me. Mark my words, if there is a fight next time, pick up the peel. And there are 45 ways you can use orange peel. So you can make best out of worst, but don't quarrel for something which is obvious, because gold lies in something hidden insights which is not obvious. So I think I am coming to the last thing. Leadership is in work in progress. Want to put a disclaimer. Don't think that I have imbibed all these qualities. I'm still going through the crucibles of hardship to be a better leader. It's work in progress, but it is really fun because everything teaches you something which is better. Thank you very much once again for having invited me for this wonderful day, and wishing you all a happy Teachers' Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for an ultimate
I have
oration.
surrendered back the screen to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for an ultimate oration. And we can say a true leader always takes initiative to motivate his colleagues and fellows. And an important point we will follow, that be grounded is an utmost important point. As despite being a king and a supreme, Lord Krishna lived his life in simplicity. So now I would like to request the moderator of this session, Professor Arun Chaturvedi, sir, to please come up. In the meanwhile, all of you are requested to please submit your poll, which is present on your screen. This is a poll which is present on your screen. All of you are requested to please submit your poll. And anybody is having any queries, they can send their queries to the chat box. And I request Professor Arun Chaturvedi, sir, to please come up.
A very good morning to the audience and a very happy Teachers' Day. Good evening to you, sir, Professor Bhandari. It must be night over there in the United States, and my respects and my sincere and warm regards to you. I hope you remember me from the time you were here, and I'm still very much here. And it is a pleasure to see you and hear you. And this was one of the best lectures ever.
Arun, I will interrupt you that I remember still first time you were introduced to me by my friend Professor N.C. Mishra at Jodhpur Airport, if you recall.
Oh, yes.
much before I joined you at KGMU.
Yes,
I know you very well.
So it has been a pleasure to hear you, sir. And I know that there is a lot of theory to leadership, but you actually showed how a true leader behaves. You actually put it to practice. And there were so many parts of this lecture which I really enjoyed, and your ideas. I think as time is passing, I think assuming leadership in higher education is becoming probably, I would say, more and more difficult, or basically it's a thing which is in transition. maybe we are in a government institution here, and here we have the financial protection of a government. But I think elsewhere also, especially with more and more higher education getting privatized and even medical education, there are a lot of challenges and pressures on administrators and people who are in the higher echelons. And it has become a challenge both to acquire and have the competencies of leadership as well as those managerial skills, which includes financial management and so many other things to make a success story. I would say in the United States, you might be seeing that there's an entirely different environment to how medical education and higher education in general is working. In India, also gradually more and more private medical institutions are coming where assuming leadership in those challenging roles is quite difficult. So my question is, how do you make both these, how do you acquire both these qualities? And since as a head of department or as a professional, you may be having some managerial skills for a smaller place, but how do you develop those skills to reach a situation where you have to manage a whole institution? And along with it, a host of problems of all kinds.
Is this a question to me?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's a kind of a discussion. Maybe we can.
Okay. I'll tell you, Arun, very simple. What you said is totally true. And one thing you have to believe in, that you don't do anything, things happen. And they happen because of, number one, your intent. There may be a very fierce opposition. There may be vehement criticism. There may be threats to your life. Nothing happens. But if there is a sincerity of purpose, if you are firm in your decision making, and if you are gentle in understanding other viewpoints, you can do anything. It doesn't matter, because people manage for you. You think the Prime Minister of a country is an individual. Similarly, the Vice Chancellor of a university. Thousands of events contemporaneously take place. It is the people who manage. What the question is, how the leader manages his people. Are they undercutting him, or are they really serving his purpose? And that is the challenge. So I think what you said is fine, and don't think that, as I said, it's not bed of roses. It may appear so, but it's always a situation. And that's why I would think of that, if you really grow your leader when you are nothing as a student, I'm not talking of becoming student union president and all. Yes, I would say, provided unanimously the whole class wants or college wants you to be the president, means you have inbuilt qualities of leadership. So always you have to nurture your inner human being, which would turn out to be a leader second to none.
Yes, sir. I think that does answer so many of my queries. I mean, essentially, if you're genuinely a good person and you have the skills and you're honest, your integrity is good, and you want to do everything with some kind of good intent at heart, things finally do work out. And managing big institutions is all the more challenging because you have to deal with so many kinds of people. There are people who are highly motivated in the institution, and there are who are not so much motivated, and there may be actually detractors. I mean, it's difficult to please everyone, like you said. It's impossible to do it. One should not try to please everyone. But even things which you consider should be disciplinary activities, they land you up into a lot of opposition. So I think your strength at that point of time matters. And I think you must have faced situations like this where you had to take unpleasant actions.
See, at the conclusion of your comment is pertinent, but my take on it, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody is useless or a troublemaker in an institution. It's a mismatch. If you want to tell a football player to go and play tennis, he is a mismatch. And it is again leader's quality to find out how can you find the right match of work for him to keep him busy. You have to interact with them, talk to them. I don't believe that 100% of them you can turn around, but quite a lot of them, you have to understand what is that is bugging. Some of them need some power. Some of them need importance. Some of them some of them don't even know what they need. You have to find out from them by trial and error. Would you be interested in doing this? Would you be liking to do? And I can tell you, you can convert a lot of them. But if you go with the premise of your impression that so-and-so is troublemaker or useless, then probably you are getting disturbed with the trouble they are making, because dissidence is one of the major things of organization. Question is, yes, in India it gets ugly dissent. They can go to any extent, but here the dissent is a voice dissent, which they say that I'll never agree with you kind of thing, and they have their own logic. So I think the best principle is to not to consider anybody useless. If you are really a leader who wants to make the best of what you have. So I think you have to really expose them to the indirect strategic ways to show them that if he says he is the best, it still not help. Expose him to a specialist who is truly the best, and they will really learn. So it's a very arduous exercise, but it's most of a human interaction issues which you have to deal with.
Sure. So I have a question from one of the people in the audience. It's sometimes you feel your efforts are not being listened to, and things are not moving, and these things send you into a state of frustration. How do you deal with such situations where there is some kind of log jam to your efforts?
Frustration is a kind of emotion, not that anybody can, but I think you should put it on occipital lobe and don't encourage frustration, because say if you have planned something and your efforts are in the direction, only three things I can say. You have not chosen the direction rightly. There are questions. You have not done the due process of finding what you should be doing with your team. There would be opposition. There may be, the most of the differences and how to do it, not on that who would challenge that KGMC should have a new department. There may be 20 questions on how to do it. So number one, your selection is not right. Number two, your approach is not right. Otherwise, and the third thing is you should be quitter. If you find out something you have picked up and you genuinely feel it shouldn't be done, withdraw back and say that, look, we will not do it. But whenever you are doing change and growth, you have to be very careful of the opposition, simply because human nature is very difficult to change. Even if I move you from this chair and give you a golden chair, in the next door, you will think twice that what is the trap inside. So human mind is very difficult to change. So you have to convince them on a change, and growth means you have to constantly change things dynamically.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor Arun Chaturvedi, sir, to please present a token of respect to Honorable Padma Shri Professor Bhandari, sir. Sir, we would like to present a token to you, sir. This is a virtual token, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm honored, and so nice of you.
It has been a privilege to hear you, sir, and to see you virtually. I hope we'll have an opportunity to meet sometime in the future.
Don't worry, whoever I'm going to pick up this original thing moment this COVID is over. So Divya, better be careful. And don't give me a copy. I want originally signed by Honorable Vice Chancellor. It would be honor. So keep my certificate with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
As today we are celebrating Teachers' Day, a day kept aside to honor the teachers who work every day to make sure that the future is bright for all of us. Now I request to our Dean Faculty of Medical Sciences, Professor Madam Uma Singh to please come up for a few words.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, dear students, whosoever is there around listening to this program. And good morning to all my colleague teachers and my senior teachers. I'm honored to be present in this August group. In the beginning, I would just like to pay tribute to my own teachers. Not many of them are alive, and that makes me really sound ancient. First line, these are my own lines. The first line is what they did to us. And the second line, what I want to say for them. Kabhi kahin yu pakad tarjani, डाल दिया था नवपथ पर, प्रत्येक स्तंभ पर उसी राह के नाम तुम्हारा अंकित करते चले जा रहे. I have always felt the teachers become grand, the teachers become great, the teachers become glorious, not just by the positions they get, not just by the fame they get, not just by the money they get, but a great contribution is the positions, the fame, the money which their students attain. If their students become great, automatically the teachers get glorified. And I'm proud, absolutely very, very proud of my position, where after these more than nearly 4 decades of being teacher, when I look back, I have hordes and hordes and hordes of students who have done so well. And in their glory and in their fame and in their positions, I feel that I have some share, and I'm extremely proud of that. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Blessed we are.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I request Dean Faculty of Dental Sciences, Professor Anil Chandra sir, to please come up for a few words.
Thank you, Pavitra. A very good morning to one and all. We were really blessed to have the words of wisdom from Professor Mahin Bhandari sir today on this Teachers' Day. So on this auspicious occasion, I would like to congratulate all the respectable teachers and my colleagues. Today we all gather here to celebrate the birth anniversary of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, the second president of independent India, who himself was a great teacher, philosopher, and an educationist. This day gives us a chance to acknowledge the hard work of teachers who guide us and shape us and shape the destiny of the students and mold them for the future leaders, to become future leaders. Teachers form the pillars of the country. They are the reason behind the student's successful career and help them in becoming better. The various versions of themselves, eminent personalities such as Dr. S. Radhakrishnan and Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam have given meaning, real meaning to the word teacher. A teacher may not necessarily be in the school only or in the college only. Anything and everything around us teaches us something or the other. The greatest teacher of all the times is life itself, and that makes us adapt the art of survival. Our parents are our first teachers, our friends, nature, animals, and most importantly, our mistakes contribute in grooming us. I take this day to honor them all and thank them for crafting us into fine individuals. With pride, I say that we have all been cultivated by the finest gardeners, and we wish them a great health, success, and well-being always. Wishing you all a very happy Teachers' Day once again, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. एक छोटी सी कविता के साथ अब एक ऐसे टीचर को बुलाने जा रहा हूं जो खुद भी एक कवि हैं। शिक्षक की गोद में उत्थान पलता है, शिक्षक की गोद में उत्थान पलता है, जहां सारा शिक्षक के पीछे चलता है। शिक्षक का बोया पेड़ बनता है, हजारों बीज वही पेड़ जनता है। Now I am calling Professor Vinod Jain, sir, Dean Paramedical Sciences, who is also a very good poet. Professor Vinod Jain, sir.
Thank you, Pavitra. गुरुर ब्रह्मा गुरुर विष्णु गुरुर देवो महेश्वरा गुरुर साक्षात परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। आज के इस दिवस पर सबसे पहले मैं सभी गुरुओं को हृदय से शत नमन करता हूं, जो यहाँ उपस्थित भी हैं और जिनकी उपस्थिति मुझे खल रही है। खास तौर से नाम लेना चाहूँगा प्रोफेसर केम सिंह साहब का, प्रोफेसर एन महेंद्रा साहब का, जिनसे मेरा 40 वर्षों का रिश्ता रहा है। Our most respected Honorable Vice Chancellor KGMU, Lieutenant General Dr. Bipin Puri, who is also recipient of Param Vishish Seva Medal and Vishish Seva Medal, former Vice Chancellor KGMU, Padma Shri Professor Mahendra Bhandari, all other dignitaries, colleagues and dear students. We all know we are passing through difficult time, and whenever there is difficult time, best or worst comes out of us. We should take it as an opportunity to do best, to just bring out our the leadership quality, so that we should do such things that it is an example for others to follow. See, when we are sailing in a sea and there is some air turbulence, what happens? A pessimist blames air winds or airflow. Optimist waits for winds to settle. But what a leader does, leader adjusts the sails of boat and keeps marching. So I think that my students are also listening, and on this very day, to my students, I wish to say, dear students, you are also a leader. Please adjust the sails of your sailing boats and keep marching in this difficult time also. वो पथ क्या, पथिक सफलता क्या, जिस पथ में बिखरे शूल ना हो, शूल मतलब कांटे, वो पथ क्या, पथिक सफलता क्या, जिस पथ में बिखरे शूल ना हो, नाविक की कार्य कुशलता क्या, यदि धाराएं प्रतिकूल ना हो। इन प्रतिकूल धाराओं में भी dear students, आगे बढ़ना है, you have to march forward and reach to your goal. Because I always say, and I will always believe, the show must go on. प्यारे विद्यार्थियों, विश्वास तुम्हारी मुट्ठी में, उल्लास तुम्हारी मुट्ठी में, आने वाले कल का होगा इतिहास तुम्हारी मुट्ठी में। भूगोल सिमट जाए जिसमें, तुम वही महापरिमाप बनो, तुम अपने दीपक आप बनो, तुम अपने दीपक आप बनो। पुनः सभी गुरुजनों को शत नमन और धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद जैन सर। Now I request Dean Nursing, Madam Professor Abhijit Kaur ji, to please come up to say a few words. Madam Professor Abhijit Kaur ji.
Am I audible?
Yeah, absolutely, ma'am.
Namaskar. At the occasion of Teachers' Day, a day where we all stand in reverence, I extend my greetings to all my teachers and my dear students also, because they are the ones who actually make us teachers. I would also like to put on record my sincere appreciation for you, Professor Bhandari sir, for remembering my husband, who was in his own way a teacher of teachers. I sincerely believe that being a teacher is the highest privilege. And once we have a great teacher, I think it is one of the greatest blessings that we have. Because it is these teachers who, with a very gentle mix of chalk, emotion, love, and nurturing, take us and make us to what we are. We must, as teachers, endeavor to give an environment to the children in which they can shine on their own glory. We should not vie for taking the pie from that. Teach them, make them learn, and leave them with a support such that they stand on their own. Your support is unconditionally there. It is they who have to believe that they are capable of standing wherever they are put. Whenever a student looks back and has a smile on his face when he thinks of the college days. I think that is one of the most gratifying moments. When he can remember his teacher for the fact how simply they made a lesson doable, learnable, executable, something which actually appeared difficult. And how they opened their home and heart to the child so that he could come and confide in them. When a student comes to an institution, he's actually intimidated in a way where there's such a big institution, he's come from a humble background. Open your heart, open your home, let the child in. Let him feel wanted, loved, and secure. And so, as we pay reverence to the great teacher of teachers, let's do some introspection. Let's see that are we really providing what a teacher actually should. I think we should spend some time on that. And for my dear students, I definitely want to say that you are the pride of each teacher. As Dr. Uma Singh rightly said, whenever you do well, whenever you rise and shine, it's we who feel proud. Remember that you are not in competition with anyone. You are in competition with yourself. आपका हर आज बीते हुए कल से बेहतर होना चाहिए. You should not strive in competition to pin somebody else down. You should strive in competition to make yourself better. Better academically, better in your human values, better in your efforts to give to the society what the society is giving to you. Institutions are portals of opportunity, and we, when we become something, thank you so much. Wishing each one well.
Thank you, ma'am. On this beautiful occasion, let us take the opportunity to convey our wishes to all our teachers, mentors, students, and alumni. An organization's alumni are the reflections of its past, representations of its present, and a link to its future. With the advent of social media, alumni relationship has taken a different flavor altogether. Universities have started to strengthen the power of alumni through various networking platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Alumni portal is the need of hour, as it can help our students in having alumni as their mentors, exchange programs, and the career support. So for the inauguration of Alumni Portal, I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Lieutenant General Dr. Bipin Puri, Sir, to please inaugurate this Alumni Portal, Sir. I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir.
Pavitra, what exactly have I to do?
Sir, this is a virtual inauguration. You just say you are inaugurating this alumni portal. So we are going to inaugurate. So
Thank you. I formally inaugurate the portal for the institute.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Please, it's a big round of applause for this new arena. As we know, teachers are the backbone of our society. As one look at the great impact on the growth, development, and well-being of the students and nation, one must agree that teaching is a noble profession. महोदय, कौटिल्य के शब्दों में शिक्षक कभी साधारण नहीं होता. प्रलय और निर्माण उसकी गोद में पलते हैं. वो अगर रचयिता है तो आवश्यकता पड़ने पर विनाशक भी बन सकता है. शिक्षक एक प्रकाश स्तंभ है, जैसे ढेरों दीपक अमावस्या की रात को दीपावली में परिवर्तित कर देते हैं, वैसे ही एक सच्चा शिक्षक अज्ञानता के अंधेरे को ज्ञान रूपी पूर्णिमा में परिवर्तित करने की सामर्थ्य रखता है. Now this is the time to felicitate those teachers who superannuated after 5th September 2019. So the first of them, I would like to felicitate, I would like to request Professor Vinita Das ma'am I would like to request Honorable Vice Chancellor and the organizing team to please present a token of respect, a memento, a certificate to Madam Professor Vinita Das. I request our organizing team to please present a certificate. Madam Professor Vinita Das is superannuated as Dean Faculty of Medicine, Head of the Department of Obs and Gynae, King George's Medical University. She was the Hewitt Medalist of King George's Medical University. Please give him a big round of applause. Now the second, I would like to request our organizing committee to present a memento and a certificate to Professor A.K. Saxena, sir, Head of the Department Pharmacology. Sir is a remarkable teacher, very jolly, and an ultimate singer also. सर के लिए एक लाइन कहना चाहूंगा कि पेड़ पर बैठी हुई चिड़िया उसकी शाखाओं के हिलने या टूटने से नहीं डरती, क्योंकि चिड़िया शाखाओं से ज्यादा अपने पंखों पर विश्वास करती है. सर, आपने हमें विश्वास करना सिखाया. Now I request Professor Madam Madhumati Goyal ma'am. She retired as Head of the Department Pathology and Pro Vice Chancellor of King George's Medical University. मैडम के लिए क्या कहूँ, कुछ कहा नहीं जा सकता, बस एक छोटा सा शेर याद आ रहा है. वो मैम आपको प्रेजेंट कर रहा हूँ कि सूरज को दिया दिखाया नहीं करते, सूरज को दिया दिखाया नहीं करते और चांद के आगे तारे बोला नहीं करते. मैडम हमेशा से स्टेज की शान रही हैं. मैडम ने हमेशा स्टेज मैनेजमेंट में हम सबको बहुत कुछ सिखाया है. थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू पवित्र, थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you, ma'am. Now this is the time to present a certificate and memento to Professor Ashutosh Kumar sir. Ashutosh Kumar sir retired as Head of the Department Pathology. और सर के लिए दो शब्द याद आ रहे हैं कि आचार्य वही है जो अपने आचरण से हमें सिखाता है. और सर के लिए एक और लाइन कहना चाहूंगा कि मुश्किलें गर हों, सर ने सिखाया है कि मुश्किलें गर हों तो अपने हौसलों पे धार कर, मुश्किलें गर हों तो अपने हौसलों पे धार कर, बना कागज की नाव आतिश का दरिया पार कर. सर ने हमेशा, सर बहुत ही जुझारू व्यक्ति रहे हैं. थैंक यू सो मच सर. एंड नाउ आई request Professor Anita Malik and Madam Professor Shobna Zafar. I request the organizing team to present a certificate and memento to Madam Professor Anita Malik ji and Madam Professor Shobna Jaffa ji, who are the stalwarts of anesthesia department. We welcome all. And now I request ma'am to please say a few words. Ma'am, Professor Vinita Das ma'am, or any.
Good morning. Thank you everyone. My greetings to Professor Bhandari, Lieutenant General Dr. Vipin Puri, who has joined recently King George's Medical University as the Honorable Vice Chancellor. My fellow colleagues, young faculty and the students. I really feel humbled and honored to be present today at this forum. And I'm really blessed to be a proud Georgians, born here and spending most of the time in the campus, about 50 years. My blessing to the young faculty and my students, who I am sure will raise the flag of King George's Medical University on the front of the world map. मैं कुछ शब्द उनके लिए कहना चाहती हूँ, अपनी यंग फैकल्टी एंड स्टूडेंट्स के लिए. छू लो आसमान तुम हौसलों की उड़ान से, राह तुम अपनी तलाशो, मिलेगा सब जहान से. With few words, all the blessing to my young faculty and the students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Madam Madhumati Goyal ma'am to please say a few words. Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Pavitra. This, am I audible?
Yeah, sure.
Hello. Thank you so much, Pavitra. At the outset, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to our Vice Chancellor, Lieutenant General Bipin Puri Sahab, who has recently taken over the reins of this institution. Sir, I believe that a person of your stature will definitely steer this institution to greater heights. My best wishes to you. Today, we are here to commemorate the birthday of our President Radhakrishnan Sahab, who believed that teachers should be the best minds in the country. On this occasion, let us all bow our head to this noble soul. When I look back at my journey at KGMC to KGMU, it is unbelievable that I have spent 47 years, a little less than half a century, from 1972 when I entered the portals of KGMC as an MBBS student, then as a postgraduate student in pathology, then as faculty since 83 and superannuation in 2019. Dear friends, this is a message for faculty that as medical teachers, we have the responsibility of all-round grooming of medical students who have to start with human suffering, lot of training, experience, patience, hard work, and empathy, and is required for handling the patients and their relatives to face the challenges of life. So unfortunately, the attraction for teaching and teaching profession is diminishing in every area of education. So as a parting message, I wish to say that I would like to convey that never consider any responsibility given to you as too small or belittling for your seniority or position. Take it up as your own work, do it wholeheartedly, and one day you will also leave the institution happy and content like me, with no regrets whatsoever. By Almighty God's blessings, I have enjoyed immense love, affection, support, and respect from all of you, everyone, be it administrative officers, faculty, junior or senior, employees and staff in general. I have learned a lot from everyone. So gratifying, my heartfelt gratitude. Once again, thanks a lot for having me here, and my best wishes to all of you in this difficult time, and stay safe. Jai Hind.
Thank you, ma'am. Professor A.K. Saxena, sir. Professor Ashutosh, sir. Professor A.K. Saxena, sir.
Hello. Hello, Pavitra. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Right. Am I available on the video also?
No, sir. The video
I'm
is
not visible. I'm waiting.
Your voice is clear, sir. You can say anything.
Okay. Okay, now I'm there. Yeah. So a very happy good morning to all of you on this occasion of Teachers' Day. And welcome Professor Bhandari again to this great institute of Lucknow. I will not take much of time. A teacher can... sorry? A teacher is known by its students, no matter how much money is accumulated or how much praise otherwise he has received in other fields, but the students remember him, and the greatest appreciation of teacher is by his or her students. And for the message to students, I'll simply speak, I'll say this couplet, and that is, कौन कहता है कि आसमां में छेद हो नहीं सकता, कौन कहता है कि आसमां में छेद हो नहीं सकता, एक पत्थर तो तबीयत से उछालो यारो. So that's the message to students. Do well, do with truthfully, with justice to all, and you will succeed. Thank you, Pavitra.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Professor Ashutosh, sir.
Yep. Am I visible on the screen?
No, sir, you're not visible, but your voice is clear.
Perfectly all right. First of all, this is a very sacred occasion for me because I have been a teacher for last so many years. I have been a class fellow, Dr. Madhumati Goyal, and we entered together in the department of pathology, and we retired almost together from department of pathology. So my colleagues and everyone now in the department is almost my student. Secondly, I like to welcome Professor Mahendra Bhandari, who is a great motivator of persons. He has been my, you can say he has been my savior, and I learned a lots of things from him. Unfortunately, there are so many things which were at that time which were envisaged, they could not be, take place. Anyway, that's a different thing, it's part of life. Secondly, I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Lieutenant General Vipin Puri, whom I have never met in person, but I intend to, as soon as this corona crisis is over, I'll intend to meet him in person. And I'd like to have certain, discussions with him. Thirdly, I like to mention some of my teachers whom I revere, respect, like anything. One is Dr. X. RML Mehrotra. He is ex-HOD of Department of Pathology, who was a very systematic person, and he tried to develop the Department of Pathology to his utmost. Secondly, there was my teacher, Dr. Dinkar Chandra, and Professor M.R.S. Kushwaha, who motivated me to take hematopathology as a subject. And I tried to do my best just to develop this in the college. So my tributes to all these teachers who have been my teacher, and of course, all the residents whom we learn from.
Good morning. Yes, sir.
I think the screen has disappeared. Anyway, so the teacher, you are still a student from your residents because they are also teachers now. You learn so many things from them by mutual discussions. So you always remember a student as well as a teacher. So that's my outlook in this teaching profession. So that's what's more to say. Best wishes to all the teachers of the college. I don't even feel like that ever I have left this department, I left the college, but I still consider myself to be a very much part of the college still. So best of wishes and welcome to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Professor Anita Malik or Madam Shobna Zafar, ma'am. Ma'am, would you like to say something? I think Madam Professor Anita Malik, Madam Professor Shobna. I think they are not here with us.
Pavitra, you are mute.
Sorry. As we all know that it is impossible to define teacher, as teachers are not only limited to teaching or guiding students in academics, but also helping students to take the right path. They add value to our character and make us ideal citizens of the country. Now this is the time to appreciate our faculty members for the year 2019-2020. We are going to present Popular Teacher Award in undergraduate students from the year 2019 and 2020 by the student poll. So first of all, the first faculty award for Faculty of Medical Sciences by the student poll, who is very popular teacher. So we present this award with a big round of applause to Professor Rakesh Kumar Dikshit ji, who is the professor in Department of Pharmacology, Professor Dr. R.K. Dikshit. I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir to please present this virtual memento and certificate to please present to Professor R.K. Dikshit. Thank you, sir. Now the second award.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Dr.
Thank
R.K.
you, thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. I am blessed to be awarded this award, and this is because of the blessings of my teachers and the wishes of my students. So thanks everyone once again. और सबको प्रणाम, सबको नमन. Thank you.
Thank you, RK boss. Thank you so much. आप हमेशा से सबके प्रिय हैं और सब बच्चों ने आपको बिल्कुल वो सर आंखों पे लिया है. धन्यवाद सर. Now the second award from Faculty of Dental Sciences. According to the student poll, we present. I request Honorable Vice Chancellor sir to please present this certificate and memento to Dean Faculty of Dental Sciences, Professor Anil Chandra sir. With a big round of applause, Professor Anil Chandra sir. Professor Anil Chandra sir, are you with us?
Yeah, thank you, Pavitra. I am honored and blessed. Frankly speaking, I never expected to be the student's choice because I am more involved in administrative work now. But I am blessed and honored to be given this award, and I accept it from the core of my heart. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Now, the third award for the Faculty of Paramedical Sciences, I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to please present a virtual memento and a certificate to Dr. Muhammad Yusuf. Dr. Muhammad Yusuf is a teacher for Diploma in Medical Laboratory Technicians. With a big round of applause for Dr. Muhammad Yusuf. And the fourth award, which is for the Faculty of Nursing. This award goes to Mrs. Urvashi Sharma. With a big round of applause, I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to please present a memento and certificate to Mrs. Urvashi Sharma, who is teaching medical surgical nursing. And she is a very good, one more feather in her cap that she's a very good singer also. With a big round of applause for Madam Urvashi Sharma ji. There is a saying that teachers are greater than the parents. Parents give birth to a child, whereas teachers mold that child's personality and provide a bright future. Apart from academics, teachers stand by us at every step to guide, motivate, and inspire to become better people. कहते हैं कि जो दिलों में बसते हैं, उनकी कभी मृत्यु नहीं हुआ करती. So this is the time to remember our noble Georgian souls. This is an opportunity to pay tribute to our teachers for their selfless efforts. We salute the noble souls of King George's Medical University. First, Professor N.N. Mahendra sir, who was a remarkable surgeon. Professor K.M. Singh sir, extraordinary surgeon from the Department of Urology. Professor Shekhar Tandon, Professor of CTVS Department. Madam Professor P.K. Mishra ji, an amazing teacher, the principal of the medical college, a renowned pediatrician. Professor D.K. Chabla sir, a very renowned neurosurgeon who founded the Department of Neurosurgery in Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Medical Institute, Lucknow. Professor Kusum Lata Pradhan, surgery. Professor A.R. Sarkar, a magnificent teacher of medicine. Professor T.N. Agarwal, Professor Sudarshan Yagnik from anesthesia, Professor Madhu Srivastav from the Department of Physiology, Professor S.M. Zahir from the Department of Pathology. हम उन सभी को अपनी श्रद्धांजलि प्रस्तुत करते हैं, नमन करते हैं, वंदन करते हैं. Now this is the time for which we are waiting eagerly. There is a saying, Akhand Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Salutation to the noble Guru, who revealed us that truth which is unfragmented, infinite, timeless, divinity, and which pervades the entire universe, movable or unmovable. God sends an enlightened teacher called the Guru to answer the miseries of a crying child. The Guru-disciple association, enriched with trust, faith, and discipline, has been considered as the best amongst all the relationships that exist in this world. Now this is the time for which we are waiting eagerly. I would like to request our Guru, the teacher of teachers, mentor of mentors, and a new carver of this esteemed university of King George's Medical University, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Lieutenant General Dr. Bipin Puri, Param Visis Seva Medal and Visis Seva Medal, for words of wisdom. I request Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to please come up for the words of wisdom, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I pay my humble and very profound compliments to Padam Shri Professor Bhandari for his pearls of wisdom and an exemplary exposition of the topic for this morning. I also pay my compliments to the faculty, the residents, the undergraduates, the Georgian alumni of this King George Medical University, my respected seniors, elders. I have profound regards to you all on this very auspicious Teachers' Day. Well, friends, ladies and gentlemen, when I was asked by Professor Divya and was briefed about the topic for deliberations this morning, the topic was leadership in healthcare. The topic, when it became leadership in healthcare institutions, added a different dimension. And whatever Professor Bhandari spoke this morning, let me say this with all humility, I thought it was all to tutor me, to educate me, for me to understand the variables, the intangibles, the imponderables which come along to administer and govern, so to say, in all humility, a university of this stature. I thank Professor Bhandari for his pearls of wisdom, and I sincerely believe that everything that he said means a lot and would perhaps be etched in gold, as far as I'm concerned, in my memories. But I'm going to speak to you, friends, on leadership in healthcare. I'm going to say a few words on leadership in healthcare, how this hashtag has changed. What was healthcare leaders in yesteryears? Healthcare leaders is now leadership in healthcare. There is a change. The hashtag has changed. Why has it changed? It's not a reason which we all require to introspect. Is it because of the corporate culture, where we want leaders who may not necessarily be healthcare, in the healthcare vertical? The paradigms, the healthcare ecosystem, friends, ladies and gentlemen, is changing rapidly. The requirements are different today in the healthcare system. There is blurring of these divisions. There is, and the question which many are asking is does medicine continue to be an art, or has medicine become an industry? That's the paradigm, that's the medical ecosystem that we are talking about. And I think it's time that we as healthcare professionals, leaders, if we are going to be leaders, define, decide, and navigate movements, thought processes, ideas as to how we want our tomorrow to be. Well, you will all agree that there has been a constant change in this very complex, evolving environment in the medical field, with multifaceted, multitasking operations throwing up diverse challenges and making leadership go through the litmus test again and again. Now, I sincerely believe that this ecosystem, where the ground rules keep changing, the goalposts keep changing from time to time, it's so dynamic. Everything, there is so much happening in medical technology, growth, different disciplines, subspecialties. There is so much happening. So leaders at different levels to keep a tag of everything in so diverse a field is actually a very taxing phenomena. Let me try and say a few things from the armed forces, because my background is the armed forces. As you all know, that leadership, when we talk about in the armed forces, has a different connotation. Some people are born leaders. You know, wherever they go, they can conduct themselves well, they can. And as Professor Bhandari said, you don't have to be a dictator, an autocratic in your. You can be a leader by being inclusive, to carry your team with you, understand their perspective, try and rein in the thought processes, and look at the pros and cons and then try and take it forward. So that's a natural leader. Sam Manekshaw, ladies and gentlemen, was a natural leader. But some people have leadership thrust on them. Just by the virtue of hierarchical rise over a period of time, they become leaders. Can they also become good leaders? Most certainly they can. But there are three things I used to tell when I was in the armed forces. Let me give you an analogy. In the armed forces, there are only 10 lieutenant generals in the medical field. 10 lieutenant generals, that is a 3-star appointment. So out of the host of doctors that we have, there are only 10 lieutenant generals. So it works out to be 0.007% of all doctors in the armed forces would perhaps become a 3-star general. Very often, when I was sitting in the hot seat, I would be asked this question by many of my juniors: "Sir, why not me? I mean, why cannot I rise to?" So the answer I used to tell them was, look at the 3 A's. The 3 A's. What is your attitude towards the service, the organization in which you work for? Do you have an attitude? Do you have the right attitude? That is number one. Do you have the right aptitude? Aptitude to adapt, to evolve and change as per the requirement. Do you have? And third, if you have the attitude, if you have the aptitude, you will get the altitude. So 3 A's, and that's the growth pattern, and that is not only for the armed forces. I sincerely believe it's everywhere. Talking a little bit about leadership, I'm going to recount 2 incidents. One was the Bhuj earthquake. As some of you would remember, it was terrible times. and the earthquake came, and there were hundreds and thousands of people who were buried under the debris. The Ministry of Defense asked the armed forces medical teams to move into Bhuj area. We all moved in. I was one of the surgical teams. There were people buried in the debris, and our engineers were trying to extricate these bodies. And whenever we would get a cry and see somebody is bleeding or somebody is crying and yelling and shouting, we would go, as the surgical team would go, help, tell the engineers to show us a way. Many times we did guillotine operations there with the person buried in the debris, with, of course, the permission of the leaders. It was a very macabre sight, let me say that, and let me admit it, but it was life-saving. It was life-saving, but limb compromising. But that's the type of leadership decisions you require at the spur of the moment. Should you save life, or is it the limb also which matters? Let me tell you another thing. What happened just a few years ago, I was in charge of the medical operations in Jammu and Kashmir, and there was these Srinagar floods, if you all remember. There were floods in Srinagar, and I was at that point of time located at Udhampur. I flew down to Srinagar to be a part of that operation, and it is those troubled days, ladies and gentlemen, I recount, when all medical infrastructure in Srinagar collapsed. Everything, including Srinagar Institute of Medical Sciences. All patients who required ventilator care were we at the military hospital at Srinagar, we agreed to take on to all patients who were on ventilator care, including pediatric neonates plus adult patients, moved into, on ventilators, they moved into our hospital in Badami Bagh in Srinagar. And there were as many as about, I remember, as many as 16 patients on ventilator. Of course, we had only 2 physicians, we had 2 intensivists, and of course, some intensivists from skins also came in to help us, and along with some neonatologists. But the fact of the matter is, for about 16 days, 16 patients were ventilated at our during those troubled times. The unique thing during those floods was that half of the hospital was underwater, and the people, there were lots of people who were marooned in the water for a few, and they could not be extricated from there because the whole thing happened so quickly. The people didn't want to come out from their homes, and it took time for them to react. During that time, we made human chains to supply them food. They were immersed in water, they were the children, so we made human chains. There was no other way to go through the water, so we made human chains to supply them with food and water, so that at least they could survive, and it's only a period of time that we could extricate all our people from those troubled times. The point which I'm trying to make is, friends, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And this is not only for the armed forces. This is from across the board for every possible scenario. I sincerely believe that quick decision making, as what Professor Bhandari said, is crucial very often. You have to weigh their pros and cons, and a quick decision making in leadership continues to be the single most important, not the single most, one of the very important criteria. Well, friends, you'll agree with me that education today is witnessing a complete transformation all over the world, actually. Not only in India, the new education policy, as you're all aware, is up for debate in recent times. As far as the medical is concerned, you're all aware that the integrated competency-based curriculum with horizontal and vertical alignments is now being implemented by the Medical Council of India, which is indeed a welcome step. and which we in the King George Medical University have embraced and are actually implementing it in letter and spirit. Now, these are things, these are changes, these are transformations, which I sincerely believe are very well defined. They have very well defined learning outcomes. And I think it's really the way to go, the way forward, and they seem to be very, very progressive decisions. I have to make another point about digital transformation. The digital transformation which has enveloped the entire world is actually happening. Digitization, whether it be artificial intelligence, be it medical technology, but the whole medical ecosystem has changed. Leadership to raise the bar on the online platform has again different dimensions to look at now. There are problems, there are issues, there are voids, there are gaps in our understanding how to move ahead. Two things we as medical practitioners come to my mind, and I must bring it to your notice, all teachers of stature. One is this online platform. The problem is there is no physical interface. You're not seeing the guy, the student, the mentee. Online, you get away with anything, but you really don't know. There's no body language, there is no physical interaction. So I sincerely believe that that's one major setback that we have on the online platform. There is one more problem which I've been talking about in the last few years, and that is physical examination. Ladies and gentlemen, when we were in medical school and when we were learning and we were doing a post-graduation and a postdoctoral training, physical examination was the key for learning, actually learning, clinical learning. Until you take a good history, you interact with the patient, you do an inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation. Until you do it, those are the parameters which we were taught, and those are the parameters in which we grew. And those things, perhaps today, are been found wanting. There is a disconnect with the patient. Everybody is only into technology. This is just do imaging, do laboratory, diagnosis and diagnostics. The diagnostic field has taken over, and it's not so important to touch the patient, examine the patient, and soothe the nerves, so to say, comfort the patient. So I think that's not important. The whole priorities in looking after a patient have changed. It worries me. We as teachers, as we go through this period of digitization and the online platform, we must not miss out passing on this to our students, that physical examination, interaction with our patients is the single most important factor if you want to soothe the nerves and comfort your patients. Yesterday, friends, ladies and gentlemen, they used to say that teachers and leaders are like candles. They consume themselves to light the path of others. But these are difficult times. Today, in the pandemic times, where there is the virus all over the place, it's so difficult. Leadership itself is becoming a challenge. I talk of a recent event a few months ago, about 2 months ago, when the pandemic had just come into India. There were reports which were all over the social media. A consultant in Chennai asked his GRs and the internees to go on to duty in the COVID ward. The internees and the GRs refused. They said, we don't know how to do the donning, we don't know how to wear the do's and don'ts inside in the wards. We are not going, let the consultant come. The consultant warned and threatened. But the internees said that we are interns, we don't know anything. So there's no question of us going inside. But the junior residents also refused. They said, you show us the way, and then we'll come in. So, friends, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a different era. It's not of yesteryears, that Guru Shish that we are talking about, the mentor and the mentee, yesteryears, where people would, if the Guru would say something and the Shish would go running without asking any questions. Today, the Shishya asks questions. Are you a leader? Are you showing us the way? Do you have it in you to show it that this is the way it has to be done? So I think those are the questions which we would have to answer. And I think we are living, ladies and gentlemen, in different times. Times have changed. And I think there is a need for us to understand this and absorb this and evolve in our approach in the period of time. Now, with this globalization of the medical education, what is happening is that the healthcare diaspora, especially the Indian healthcare diaspora, is having a deep impact as far as back home in India is concerned, be it medical tourism, be it the impact, the international collaboration. And now look at this, what Professor Bhandari has brought for us, thoughts, newer thoughts of international collaboration with the best of the best in the world. The Georgians willing to collaborate, willing to shake hands, willing to embrace the KGMC in all its perspectives. And I sincerely believe that there could be nothing better than this bonhomie, the spirit, the feeling for each other, and ensuring that the younger generation continues to grow. And I think that's really what we are looking forward to. Thank you, Professor Bhandari, sir, for encouraging the younger generation. You have done it for decades and decades, and I thank you for continuing and giving support to your young Georgians who continue to take the flag and carry the banner with them of the King George Medical University. Let me say a word about team spirit, leadership and team spirit. Brigadier Bhandari talked about it, and I'm going to say a couple of words here. They say that you can be a very good musician individually. He's a good musician, he's a good violinist, he's a good guitarist, he's a good drummer, or whatever. But if you want a symphony, something which you want to hear it well, then it has to synergize. All musicians have to synergize with each other. And that makes it a symphony. Team spirit, leadership. I think that's the need of the hour. That's what we want. And that's what we are. I'll give you an example in my own setting when I was in the armed forces. Liver transplant program started in the country a few decades ago. And we were in the armed forces, we were amongst the early starters, so to say, at Army Hospital Research and Referral to start deceased donor liver transplant program. At the same time, at parallel time, in Delhi, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences was also starting. But I want to bring out to you all, whereas the program in Army Hospital ran like a dream, because it was, everybody held hands, and there was a leader, there was the hepatologist, there was a gastroenterologist, the GI surgeon, the anesthetist, the fusionist, the radiologist, the transplant immunologist. They all sort of hand-holding. But what was happening in the All India Institute of Medical Sciences was that they were all excellent. They were top of the shack. They were top in the country. But yet, the leadership mantle could not be decided. And because the leadership could not be decided, the whole thing fell apart. And that's the point I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, that unless and until there is a feeling that we are doing this for the institution. Am I audible?
Yeah, absolutely.
So until there is a feeling that we are doing whatever we are for the institution, you lose sight and the whole thing becomes scattered, and you lose out on your ultimate goal. So I think that's the bottom line which I'm trying to make, and I sincerely believe that would be the important thing to remember. So therefore, as leaders, as Professor Bhandari said, I maybe at the cost of being repetitive, I'm going to say a few things, and because I sincerely believe in these thoughts. As leaders, it is imperative that we are able to create a change. It's also important that we are able to take responsibility for the decisions that we take. It's important to encourage, it's important to persuade your team members, it's important to take risks. It's also important to understand, to avoid psychophancy, avoid people who love to say, yes sir, 3 bags full, sir. People who tell you a contrary opinion to what you think should be respected. It may not be right, but respect a person who gives you a contrary opinion. Set your goals, teamwork, as I said, empower your juniors. Professor Bhandari mentioned that. Empower your juniors, reduce boundaries, listen more, communicate, find the right man for the right job. And I think this really sums up some of the parameters which are so important in leadership in healthcare. And all of this, I sincerely believe, would, I hope, would make good leaders. And on Teachers' Day, I once again compliment all the Georgians who are here today on this digital platform. I once again convey my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Bhandari for being with us so late in the night today, sir. And thank you so very much for being with us on Teachers' Day. And I would just like to conclude by a small thought. And the thought is, education is our passport for the future. For tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. So with these thoughts, once again, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your time listening to me. Thank you, Jai Hind, and happy Teachers' Day. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir, for a beautiful, ultimate, remarkable, and magnificent oration on this day of Teachers' Day. And on behalf of all the faculty members, I assure you that we will try to follow your words of wisdom, sir. Now, I request our Dean Student Welfare, Professor Narsingh Verma, sir, to please present a vote of thanks. Professor Narsingh Verma.
Thank you, Pavitra. First of all, I will like to thank the organizers for giving me this chance to propose vote of thanks by the organizing team. First of all, I will like to thank Professor Mahendra Bhandari for giving such a beautiful talk and motivating us, all of us, and giving his peace of mind that how we can become even a good leader, good teacher, all things. So after that, I will like to thank our Vice Chancellor, sir, for motivating us to produce this type of program. And he is a real motivator, what we have perceived in the little time, whatever we had with him. And I will like also to thank all our retired teachers who graced the occasion and were present and showered us with their beautiful words. And we are also thankful to whole organizing team and all of the students, teachers, whosoever attended the meeting, and a lot of persons involved in the organizing the whole event. I will like to thank all of them. And at the end, I will like to thank Almighty God for providing us strength to produce this type of programs, which are very motivating. And in the end, I will just like to end here by saying that whatever we are today, it is blessing of our teachers, and we cannot forget this. Not only on Teachers' Day, every day we should start our day by remembering our teachers, because whatever we today, we are because of our teachers. And with this, I would like to thank you all for attending all this, and the IT cell, other persons who are behind the scene, and they are helping us for a successful event. Thank you very much. You all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, in the
Thank you.
end, we would like to request everybody to please fill the feedback form, which is going to present on your screen, and earlier poll and this one. This is the feedback form for the entire program. You have to please submit this. This is the poll first, and the next is, I request Dr. Richa Khanna to please screen on the screen the feedback form for the entire program. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.